Brutal loss by the Giants. I can't even get into the whole game because it's so disgusting what happened, but I do want to hit on a few points and, yes, we move forward from here. The first and foremost point, we found our quarterback. Okay, yeah, there could be things, sophomore slump next year and stuff like that, but we found our quarterback. I mean, this kid is the real deal. He went in there as a rookie in his fourth start, and he's putting up 32, which should have been 35 points against the league's top defense. That's impressive stuff. And with this coaching staff, because remember, he's going out there. He's not just battling the other team. He's also battling his own coaching staff with their ridiculous play calling. So kudos to the kid, and I feel bad. And this is my biggest problem because this loss is heartbreaking. And what I don't want to happen is this loss is so bad that it starts pulling the positive energy that Scatterboo and Dart have brought to the team down. Because this is the type of loss that can compound. Now, the Giants got beat up physically in this game. But now because you lost, now you're also getting beat up mentally and emotionally. And that's harder to recover from. Because if you win the game, yeah, you're beat up physically, but you feel pretty good. Now you lose the game. So now you got the loss, you're beat up physically, and you're beat up emotionally and mentally. And now you got to go and play the Eagles. This is a perfect scenario to go on a losing streak. And if you lose a couple more of these in a row, now Dart and Scatterboo and all these young guys that have come in to try to revitalize, they start to get pulled down into that losing mire. But for now, I think we got the kid. And this brings up a big question, which is now, do you get rid of Dable at the end of the year because he's a bad coach, right? Maybe he's got a good relationship with Dart and he is really helping develop him, and that's why Dart is playing so well. Maybe that is the case, but the thing is he still needs to be a head coach, okay? So you can't have a head coach here that is great with your quarterback, but can't manage the rest of the team. Okay, that's an offensive coordinator. So now do you go out and get another coach next year and blow up this Dart Dable connection, and will the kid possibly regress? Kind of like Pat Shermer and Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones had his best year here statistically with Pat Shermer. He technically had his best year in 2022. We won a playoff game, but statistically with Pat Shermer. And I think Dart, with his competitiveness, and he'll be fine with another coach. So that should probably be the way you go. But if Dart goes like 6-7, because he'll have 13 starts this year. If he goes 6-7 or 6-7, if he goes 6-7 or 7-6, even though the Giants will then still have a losing record, they'll be 7-10 or 6-11. But I think Dable will be back. The coordinators might not be, or specifically the defensive coordinator won't be, but Dable will be back. Now, if they go like 3 and whatever that's 14. Even if Dart plays well, Dable won't be back. Doesn't matter what Dart does. So we'll see. Also, I just want to throw it out there. I kind of said this in my other video. The Broncos are frauds. They're not that good. Okay, they are like the 2022 Vikings, right? Where we almost beat them in the regular season. They won like 13 games or something that year, and then we beat them in the playoffs because they weren't really a good team. They had a horrible defense, the Vikings. And yeah, they had a good offense, but it was mostly Justin Jefferson and I think it was TJ Hawkinson, the tight end, and that was it. And we beat them in the playoffs because they weren't really a great team. They just had some good offensive days and some balls bounced their way. And that's the same thing with the Broncos. Broncos are frauds. Their defense is not that great. I said this in my other video. They haven't played that great of teams. Who have they played? They played the Titans and Cam Ward in his first NFL start. Okay, they played the 49ers without Brock Purdy. They played the Jets. I mean, these are the teams that they've played where they've been able to rack up statistics and make themselves look that good. I mean, look at how this defense let up 32 and should have been 35 points if we could get a kick. Again, I don't understand what this is. Kicker should be the easiest part of the team to get right. It's literally one guy. He only has one job. You can't scout a guy who can consistently make a kick or find a veteran. And here's even the easier thing. kickers can play until they're like 45 years old. So from 20 years old up to 45 years old, you can't find a kicker that can at least make extra points and stay healthy. That's the only two things he has to do: stay healthy and make extra points. That's it. And you can't find that. I can't even believe it. But regardless, this offense for the Giants put up 32 points against the league's best defense with no Malik Neighbors, no Darius Slayton, Wandale Robinson as your number one guy, and two tight ends basically, and Scatterboo, your running back. Okay? And they put up 5 touchdowns against this defense. This defense is a bunch of frauds. Okay? I'm not saying they're bad, but for 3.5 quarters, the Giants defense was light years better than the Broncos defense. Okay? And nobody thinks the Giants defense is that amazing. So, the Broncos and the offense is hit and miss. So I don't think they're that good of a team. But again, a loss is a loss. So again, my biggest concern, heartbreaking loss. The problem is losses like this can really damage you mentally. And look, I get the whole thing with, hey, if Dart is damaged mentally by this or whatever, then he's not our guy. I get it. But I'm just meaning the whole team, right? The whole team was buying into the Dart energy and the Scatterboo energy. And yeah, we can win games. And then you have a loss like this, and that takes some of the luster off that energy. And will they revert now back to their losing ways? And will they actually end up pulling Dart and Scatterboo down with them? That's my biggest concern. Because winning, listen, it would have been great. We should have won this game, and we would be 3-4, and then we'd be playing the Eagles to be 4-4. And let's be honest, we're probably gonna lose to the Eagles whether we won this game or not. So we'd probably be 3-5. So we're not going anywhere. It's about the development of Dart and making sure we got one, right? Because if Dart ain't the guy, then when the new regime comes in next year, they got to draft somebody. But it looks like we have one, and we'll continue to see his progression throughout the year. That's the main thing. But this loss is still heartbreaking. And I know people want to blame on different things. Here's what I'll say. The offensive play calling down the stretch, especially the drive where Dart threw the interception. I know people are like, oh, you run the ball 3 times, you let them use, Broncos use their 3 timeouts, and then you punt it. And I'm in favor of that. That's fine. You let the Broncos battle the clock because that is really their biggest opponent at that current point. However, I wasn't completely opposed to what Dart did. And if you look, he did have Theo Johnson open behind the linebacker. Now, I don't know if he didn't realize the linebacker was dropping back into coverage or if he saw the linebacker because the linebacker was right in his sight. It's not like he was he was right in his sight. So I don't know if he didn't see him or he was trying to throw the ball over the linebacker and he was getting hit like in his leg and it kind of messed up the throw a little bit and that's why it got picked off. I don't know, but Theo Johnson was open behind him. But either way, he should have just took the sack there. Now, that was a huge mistake, but he did make up for it at the end because he got a touchdown and whatever, penalties, it was cheap penalty, whatever the case is. Went down and got the touchdown. So he gave up a touchdown with his interception and he scored one. So that's a wash. Okay, that whole thing is a wash. Okay, now we get to the defense. First of all, you knew we were going to lose as soon as they came out with the prevent with the 3 guys, the 3 down linemen. You're like, they're going to throw a 30-yard pass and then they'll basically be in field goal range after that. And that's pretty much exactly what happened. And I don't even blame, the kicker missed a whole bunch of kicks. Yes, come on. We can't find a guy who can make extra points. But, if we made that extra point, they would have tied the game. We would have lost in overtime. So all we did, we would have prolonged the losing an extra 5 minutes. So honestly, I kind of liked it better this way. Just lose the game, and I don't want to watch overtime and see this, okay? But you let up 33 points in the 4th quarter. There is more to that than just one thing, okay? Yes, the Dart interception helped them because they were able to get a quick score, but I think there's a lot that goes into it. The first and foremost, defensive scheme, okay? You could tell that they got conservative, through the end of the 3rd quarter into the 4th quarter because they actually wanted the Broncos to run down the field and use the clock. And that is a fine strategy until they scored 16 points. Then it was 26-16. Now you got to go back to your regular defense and start playing for real. And I feel like Partly they didn't do that, and the other part of it is now they had injuries. Okay, Paulson Adebo, Javon Holland got injured, and our secondary was already below average with them. So now without them, all we have is Cordell Flott and Deontay Banks, who Deontay Banks is like the antithesis of Jackson Dart. He comes in and he just sucks all the energy out of the defense. It's like the defense sees him come on and they go, oh, we're going to give up a touchdown. So that was part of it for the Broncos comeback, is that you got those two guys injured, and now you got to have guys who shouldn't even see the field be playing, and that helped them to be able to throw the ball down the field. Also, Brian Burns got injured, and yeah, he fought through it, but he wasn't at 100%. So now the pass rush wasn't getting to Nix as good as it should have, and so he had more time to throw the ball, coupled with having crappier defensive backs, so he was able to get the ball down the field. So that led to quicker scores and them actually being able to put points on the board. And then, of course, the nail in the coffin, the prevent defense at the end of the game, the 3 down linemen. When you don't even have your 3 best down linemen, you had Dexter Lawrence on the sideline. That tells me they weren't trying to get a pass rush. They just wanted Nix to throw the ball somewhere and hope that they could pick it off or something. That was what the goal was. That's a bad goal. You got to dance with the one who brought you. Okay, who brought you to that point in the game was aggressive defense, gave you the lead, and getting after. You got to just be aggressive. And if you have a ball, get over the top. That's just the way it is. But at least you die by the sword, right? That was your strength. It's pass rush. You got to die that way. But you could argue that. But even before that, like I said, there were other mismanaged things in the game that allow that to happen. So you could be angry with, oh my God, it's the same as the Cowboys game. They didn't learn anything. True. Totally true. And I think that's a fireable offense for the defensive coordinator for making the same mistake twice. But you don't just score 33 points in the fourth quarter because of one thing. It was the compilation of things, right? It was the injuries on defense. It was the defensive scheme. It was Dart's interception at the worst possible time. It was the offensive conservative play calling. And here's the thing. They got the worst of both worlds. They did conservative offensive play calling, but not quite conservative enough to let the Broncos use all their timeouts. And then they got aggressive on the one down where you shouldn't be aggressive because you're clearly trying to get them to use all their timeouts. So then you get aggressive and try to throw the ball, and then you don't. Well, you do, but you get an interception. You don't complete the play. So it was the worst of all play calling there on offense. And then bad scheme on defense, plus injuries on defense, and all this. Plus, I'm sure they were gassed by playing, up mile high, whatever. So that's that. It's a heartbreaking loss. But looks like we found our guy in Dart. And this season was always about now progressing him. Because let's be honest, even if we win this game, let's say we won both games, we win this game and we beat the Eagles. Yeah, it would be nice not to be in the NFC East basement. Yeah, it'd be nice to be at 500, but the Giants are not making the playoffs. They would not be making the playoffs, okay? Because there are plenty of other good teams, right? The only way you'd make the playoffs is by winning the division, and I don't think the Giants would win the NFC East. There's not going to be 2 teams that come out of the NFC East to go to the playoffs, so you're not making a wild card there. So now it's about Dart's progression. And based on this game and his previous 3 games, I think we got one. And listen, that's not to say disaster is coming. Believe it or not, we might look at this game and go, oh, it was a disaster, but it really wasn't. Yes, it was a collapse in the fourth quarter, but for 3.5 quarters, it was a fun game to watch. And they were competitive, and they looked like the better team against the best defense in the league. Okay, there's going to be games. Maybe it's the Eagles game next week. Maybe it's the 49ers game. Maybe it's some random game like the Bears game. But there's going to be a game where they're going to go out and they're going to score 3 points, and Dart's going to have 3 interceptions, and it's going to look terrible. When that game is coming, who knows? So, because that game is lurking out there, because he's a rookie and each week he plays, there's more and more film on him about what he can do and what he can't do. That game is coming. And so even if we had won this game and we win next week, those games are coming. And, they're more likely to come down the stretch when teams have, 7 games of film on Dart. And it's going to feel just as bad if we were, say, 6-4 let's say we go on like a 4-game win streak or whatever it was, and we're 6-4, and then all of a sudden down the stretch we just lose like 3 in a row because um, they've got Dart's number now, and so now we end up, being 6-7. 6-7. Um, Again, my bigger concern with the loss is the emotional and mental toll it's going to take on the players, and is that going to counteract the positivity that Dart and Scadaboo and all these guys have brought, and like some of the, I don't think it'll necessarily affect Dart and Scadaboo because they're still young, they're still learning, and they're, I think, still just excited to play football. But for some of the veteran guys on that team, a loss like this, they could start to go up. And here we go. It's the same thing. Yeah, it's different guys, and the offense is playing better, but here we go. We still can't win games at the end, and blah blah blah. I mean, if we can lose a game like this, then we can lose a game in any fashion, and so then the energy that Dart and Scadaboo bring aren't as infectious, right? Because veterans aren't going to buy into it as much because they saw what happened here. So that's what I hope doesn't happen, and I'm hoping Dart can really solidify himself as the leader and stop that from happening. But we'll see. But yeah, I hope the team doesn't quit and can come out and have some more good games. Probably won't be against the Eagles next week, but yeah, it's just a heartbreaking loss, and one that got away. And again, it's like could be an antithesis to having a young guy come in like Dart and really energize the team. This could be one where it can demoralize the team. And I hope that doesn't happen. In the past, it would happen because you got guys like Daniel Jones, who was just upset with all the losing, and Saquon Barkley, who didn't want to be there. And so it just, a loss like this would just put them on a losing skid. So a lot to prove. Again, if the Giants come out next week and lose to the Eagles, but they score like, 21 points and we lose 24-21, does that considered a bounce back game? I don't know. The most important thing though is we got Dart, and he looks like the real deal, and hopefully he continues his ascent. Um, but we'll see. But yeah, heartbreaking loss, and unfortunately, I'm sure there'll be some more coming up. So hopefully, the offense though can continue to progress. And again, we're doing all this without any wide receivers, so that's good too. But all right, that's it.